Hello everyone and welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy Heroes video and to another Grand Arena highlight reel for you. Really glad to see a lot of you enjoyed the last Grand Arena I did with Aesop in my last video. The response to that video has been absolutely nuts, so a big welcome to anyone that's subbed from that video. I do really appreciate all the support and everything on that video. It does really mean a lot. You will all be pleased to know that it wasn't a one-off, and I will hopefully have more Grand Arena fights with Aesop coming out in the future, so make sure to keep an eye out for those. And if you haven't already seen the video, I'll leave a link to that in the top right corner. It's a really good watch. Obviously, it's really nice and interesting to see all the interactions and how the top end of Grand Arena is all played out. But anyway, I have over 30 fights in this video, including this fight with Hux Lead, First Order TIE Pilot Omicron and Phasmacron against the Solo R9 Jabba cleanup. I thought this was good footage to put over my intro. I'll just quickly explain what's going on. So what I'm doing is spamming TM Special with Phasma and using TIE Pilot with his special to land buff immunity on Jabba, because if you can land that on him, he can't gain any bonus protection. Make sure to pass the turnover from Hux to TIE Pilot if he's got advantage, to obviously take the cooldowns off TIE Pilot so he can spam that special again. And hopefully you eventually do enough damage to kill him. Sometimes, as you'll see in this footage, I do not land the buff immunity with TIE Pilot, so he does heal up a bit, which is quite frustrating, but mine aren't modded the best and don't have the best relics out there, so you can probably do this a lot quicker than me if you've got good mods and obviously higher relics than what I do. Hopefully you can use these fights as a reference in your own Grand Arenas, so if you do find this video helpful, a like and comment is always much appreciated, and don't forget to hit the sub button down below, and let's just jump straight into it. Okay, so first up we have a bounty hunter leftover squad, I guess, against the First Order crew lead, Sith Trooper and First Order Officer. So the whole reason I took Boba lead here is because I knew that First Order Officer was going to take the first turn, so we can get an easy contract there, which we do. And this isn't going to be good banners, unfortunately, because we don't really have a lot of protection recovery or any health or anything like that. We do have protection recovery in terms of Jango and Boba being able to get theirs back to 100%, but in terms of actually healing, there isn't really a lot. So basically just relying on a first time counter essentially here if you've got or running out of teams and need something off meta to kill. It's probably a standard team you see in Grand Arena at least. Next we have Aphra and Bastila and Malak versus a Qui-Gon Omicron. This is probably something I would recommend if Cam's in there, because Cam could do a lot of damage to you before you even get going really. And the big thing here is you want Anakin to use his AoE beforehand, before obviously you knock down Qui-Gon Jinn, because if you knock down Qui-Gon Jinn before he's used AoE, he will just absolutely annihilate your whole team. And obviously making sure you have a decently healthy Malak to withstand the hits from Anakin afterwards. That's all very mod dependent, that one. Probably not something I would recommend, but I just wanted to show it just in case you are thinking or need a counter to use. With the exact same team again, showing a Datacron there, obviously taking in one that gives me turn meter. But I mainly went in there for the potency, just to make sure we landed all these debuffs on them. Because what I'm trying to do here is kill Bam as soon as possible, because I don't want him doing his Whistling Birds and applying healing immunity to me and stealing any banners potentially. So get rid of him first, and I'll just hit Chewie, and then we can kill Han Solo. And now we have Grand Inquisitor, so my first highlight, I suppose, using Grand Inquisitor. This one is with 8th Brother Datacron, because this was during first week where we weren't able to re-roll all our Datacrons because we didn't have any mats from Territory Wars. So unfortunately I got 8th Brother for the first week, so I was using that on offense to see how it did, and it did alright actually. But as you can see, we did have to speed this footage up because it was just so long, because all I'm essentially waiting for is to be able to line up an AoE in order to actually kill both the Tuskens. That's pretty much the whole idea with this. I don't think we share the Datacron in this fight. I think it's at the beginning of the next fight, which is also a Grand Inquisitor fight with the same team. I think I eventually do put this on auto, because I was getting a bit bored of just watching them die and constantly revive, because I was trying to line it up, and every time I thought I lined it up, only one of them died, which is really annoying. I think I eventually took it off. It was like, I need to actually line this up properly so I can actually get a win. Really didn't want my Quizzers to lose to Tuskens. That would have been really embarrassing. So you do get a kill there. Nice 50k hit from 8th Brother. And now we have the same team again, but against a Jedi Knight, Luke, Mace, and Grandmaster Yoda team. So this is basically what this team is made for, killing Jedi. And they do a very good job of it here. I think we get full banners. Did he take a turn? Oh, I mean, Mace just took a turn, but I don't think Jedi Knight Luke... Oh, okay, never mind. He did take a turn. But that is the Datacron I used. So nothing too crazy, not really great. Decent amount of crit damage, that's probably one of the best things I had on it. And a nice 100k hit to finish there. And now we have a fight that I was inspired by Aesop to do. This was in the Grand Arena on the same day that I did the recording with Aesop, because unfortunately I obviously did spend most of my recording time with Aesop doing that Grand Arena that I didn't really have the time to do my own. So what you're seeing here is a Relic 3 Hondo with his Omicron. And I do think his Omicron is very important in using Scoundrels if you have a low Relic. The Datacron I'm actually using here isn't really that special. I think it's a bit of protection and health steal. I think I show it at one point in this video, but it is crazy to see how much damage even a Relic 3 Hondo can do with probably subpar modding against a Relic 9 Malgus. It is absolutely bonkers. I would probably actually recommend this to anyone really. I think Hondo will be able to beat a lot of teams going forward, and especially Malgus is quite a high value target in that it normally draws out Galactic Legends and those sort of things. So if you can actually kill it with Hondo, I think that's definitely worth an Omicron investment, especially if you're facing Malgus on a regular basis. As you'll see, we'll start ramping up our damage, but it is taking us a bit longer than it did in Aesop's video because obviously we don't have the Omicron. Not the Omicron, sorry, the Datacron, which gives you extra ransom stacks quicker. We do eventually get up to 50, and you'll start to see some pretty nice damage, I would say, for a Relic 3. I do currently have him at Relic 5 at the time of me doing this voiceover, and I am planning on taking him to Relic 7 so that I can actually use him with the Datacron that I do have for him. I don't know whether you guys would be interested in me doing a state of my account or something like that, because I don't think most of you are probably familiar with what I'm really working on or what Datacrons I have. And I know obviously a lot of you see my Grand Arenas and I show my Datacrons there, but I just wondered whether any of you would actually be interested in seeing that. I'll put a comment down in the comment section about this to see whether you'd actually like to see a state of my account, and if you do, make sure to give that comment a like so I know that you would like to see that. I have thought about doing one, and maybe we could do it like on a not a monthly basis, but maybe every 2 months or something like that. Because I am a free-to-play player. I have been a free-to-play player for 3 years now, so there isn't really a lot of progression probably within a month for me to actually just warrant me doing a update. But yeah, I mean, that could be an idea. See the amount of damage we're doing now with Hondo is nuts. 182k. I think we do over 200k at one point. It's quite funny to see you hit, I don't know, 200k, 150k, and that barely looked like it did anything to Malgus. But we are just waiting to get a nice kill shot, because we are going to have to kill him twice, unfortunately, because the Datacron on this team, as you can see there, was every time a tank ally is defeated, they revive. Nice 219k hit there, and then we just got to kill him again. Luckily, we've got enough stacks and plenty of time to actually kill him. So we do get a win. Not great banners, but I mean, it's a one shot. So if you can cleanly kill Malgus without using a Galactic Legend or a high, what I like to call high value targets or high value characters, then I definitely think it's worth it. Nice 224k hit to finish, 51. And now we have a Bad Batch, well, Hunter, Echo, and Tech counter to a Admiral Raddus Omicron team with Cassian and Jin. Pretty straightforward, really. Basically just going all in on Raddus to begin with, just get him out. If you can land that buff immunity, which we unfortunately didn't, it does make the fight go a lot quicker. Because obviously they don't get any of the extra buffs from the Spark of the Rebellion when you dispel it, like they will here, as you'll see. Still not landing that buff immunity, so I probably would actually recommend taking a Days Con if you do have one with some potency against Raddus at least, because Raddus is quite a highly tenacious character anyway without mods on, so it probably is worth definitely taking a Datacron of some sort if you have one with a bit of extra potency to make sure that you are landing that buff immunity, so there is really no risk of Raddus getting to 100 stacks of his blue buff. I can't remember what that blue buff is called. It's not called. I know the ability is called Hope, but I don't know what the blue buff is called. I don't know. As you can see, he's getting super close. That kills off Cassian and Raddus, and then I think we get a full banner win here. A heal, and then 57. And now for a Hux Red of First Order TIE Pilot team against a JTR BB8 and R2. This is probably the most standard team I use in my First Order TIE Pilot Phasmacron. I think it's the one that's just, it's like a machine gun essentially. You just gun them all down, try not let them take too many turns, and then hopefully you can clear pretty efficiently and get a nice win with a decent amount of banners. I can't remember what exactly the banners are on this, but I think it's probably a 56 maybe, I can't remember. There's not really too much to explain with this. Retribution helps a lot to begin if you have that. See, as you saw at the beginning, I was using my Phasma Datacron. Is this because other than that Jabba fight you saw in the intro, Phasma doesn't really get used a lot in threes, at least for me. Now we have the same team again. This time against a Relic Geo team. Relic 7 Spy, he just gets deleted before he can actually smack anyone out, and then I think we're obviously just waiting to get our next go to actually kill Brute off. So I gave the turn there to Red because I could do the second special like you saw to reapply advantage, which then speeds up my team so I can go round again quicker. Yeah, that's a 55. And then again, but this time against what you see a lot on defense, which is a CLS Chewpio and C3PO. Pretty straightforward if you have good mods and a good Datacron to use with them. I would definitely recommend using this counter. You can kill them pretty easily, especially against low relics. As you can see, only is a relic 3 CLS for a maximum banner win. This time we're using Iden, Death Trooper and range. Pretty standard 3v3 team for Iden, especially against rebels like CLS and Mon Mothma teams. That's why I tend to use mine, at least. As you see, I'm trying to base it there to land a daze, which I do get. Then I decided not to stop my feet because of the confuse on me, because Iden won't actually get any buffs there. Waited for the cleanse, and then I was hoping I was going to be able to reapply it for the next go, which we do, so we get the retribution up. That's a bit of protection recovery. We're just going straight after CLS. This time a higher relic CLS is relic 8. Just base it there. I didn't want to waste my death mark because I wanted to give that to Chewpio. So you got the blind, which is annoying. Game was lagging a little bit. Then we got a death mark on, and then pretty straightforward really. Dies to the death mark damage for a maximum banner win again. This time we have a very similar team to what I used at the beginning. See after my intro. This time we're using Jango lead. against a kind of leftover Finn resistance squad. I think I was using my Cadcron on this, but I don't actually have CAD Relic 7, so it's kind of useless basically apart from the stats boost and the level 6 and the level 3. And we get 55 there. Now we have JMK. This is Rey, Ben Solo, and Resistance Hero Finn. This one's a pretty straightforward counter, works against most, well, but I think it will against all the variants of Rey Ben Solo teams. Even beats the Hermit Yoda ones with Holdo. I think there is one with L3. It can be a bit difficult because of the taunt. She's just really tanky. You normally have to get rid of her first with the big leap. As you'll see with this, we're just waiting to get rid of Ben. So I was just checking for any instant damage immunity there, and he is out of here. And I do believe I do have the enemies can't be revived there when they're defeated by a scoundrel, which Cat is luckily. So even with the Omicrons from on Ben Solo, he won't be coming back. So we do not have to deal with him again, and him causing any issues with me killing the Rey. So it's quite fortunate as that we do have that Datacron. Definitely something I would highly recommend getting if you can. At this time we have JMK versus Dr. Aphra. This was a Dr. Aphra with both BT and 000s Omicrons, so I just didn't want to take any chances with it, and I was just like, I'm going to JMK this and see how we get on, and as you can see, it was very, very easy. Went in for a bit of overkill. I didn't really know what to take against it because there wasn't any data on .dg for it, so I was playing it safe. Now we have a JML JKL and Hermit versus a SLKR with his Datacron. The reason I dazed Hux at the beginning there is because I didn't want him passing a turn to SLKR, which is normally what happens, and that you can daze SLKR at the beginning, and then Hux will just cleanse that daze and everything and reduce his cooldowns and the stuff that you basically just did to him the next go. So it's pretty pointless, so you can just use it to keep the supports under control, I suppose. So you killing off the sides first, and then we just got to kill Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. You did see the Datacrons at the beginning, so you can always go back and pause if you missed them. I just tried to show them briefly so you can see what I'm using. So that was a realistic of 54. This time we have JML, same team again, but this time against a Rey, Ben Solo, and Holdo team. I can't remember whether the Ben has any Omicrons in this one. Yeah, he's got 2. So this is a very good counter as well. The only ones that JML really struggles against for Rey Ben Solo comps is the Hermit Yoda one, because just all the healing really throws you off. If you have a Relic 9 JML, you probably could do it, but mine's only Relic 8, so I can't really say or recommend that counter. But even if you do have a Relic 9 JML and have used him to beat a Rey Ben Solo Hermit team, do let me know. Obviously, put it down in the comments. Be really helpful to know, because I am planning on Relic 9ing my JML at some point, but like I mentioned, I am a free-to-play player now, so Relic 9s are super expensive, and that the only one that I have is for Raddus, and that's only because I had to. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people are like that. Anyone that's got one Relic 9 is normally Raddus. So that's what I find quite amusing. It's not a Relic 9 out of choice, it is a Relic 9 because we have to get a meta ship. As you see, that was pretty straightforward. Yeah, I'm gonna have to keep killing off Ben is the only unfortunate thing because we don't have any like permanent insta kill. But we are at our ultimate now, and all we got to do is kill Holdo and Ben again, obviously. Trying to recover some banners where possible. Do you think we get a 55 here? Because this, I thought that AoE killed them. Not this does. Must be a kit to finish for a 55. And now we have something a bit different. This is a JTR BB8 and Rose counter against an EP Mara and Tarkin. I just did this for memes basically. As some of you know, I do like to just have a bit of fun sometimes, so especially on my JMX account. So I'll just trying things out, and Rose got a use for once, obviously other than Rancor food in Sea Pit raid. So I do think she actually looks really good now with Zori. Zori does look to be really good. I'm really looking forward to getting up to relic levels, and probably in August at some point. Because I do want to try her out in TB with Finn's Omicron. I do think that it looks really interesting for the synergy she has with that team, and especially get a use out of Rose, which would be nice. So 55 there. Now we have a use for Lord Vader on offense. I did take Lord Vader off defense for a while because I just felt like he wasn't doing a lot. Obviously, since his Datacron has expired, he's not as good. He's definitely viable with the protection up Datacron that we're using here, because any sort of team that has no dispels, you're going to really struggle killing him, because he obviously is a really high health unit, and with all that extra bonus protection he's getting, he just becomes like an absolute juggernaut. So definitely need some sort of dispel or buff prevention or of some sort to keep him under control. I did eventually put him back on defense though, because a lot of the time when I was using him, I was using him against like things like JMK that I thought I would be able to beat, and he was just letting me down. So I was like, right, you're going back on defense, so I don't want to use you. This one's pretty straightforward, really. Relic 7 Malgus with all 3 Omicrons. Essentially just waiting for Lord Vader's ramp up, or to get a nice big 5 hits from Maul. I did just decide to put it on full auto because I felt like any of the buttons that I pressed wouldn't have been any different or made any difference to the outcome of this fight. Because we are going to get max manners, of course, because of the full health that we have. So fortunately you can't apply healing immunity to him. If you could, it'd make him a lot easier to kill. He's probably one of the best Conquest characters that we've had, I reckon. I definitely feel like Maul. I think Maul. I would say Cat's actually the best one we've had, and then I'd say Maul, and then Malgus. I reckon. I'm probably missing someone. I don't like ships, so the ships go down on the list just purely because of the fact I don't like them. So they're probably like mid-table. Boba Jango is definitely at the bottom. He's awful. As you saw, 57 there. Now we're doing a LV solo. This was against a Boba Jango CAD team. With the Cadcron as well. Forgot to mention that. That is what we're using. Potency and armor. And we're basically just waiting for them to start to dots, essentially. CAD does die pretty early on. The dots, yep, he's out of here. And I do believe this is a 59. I can't remember now. Might not be actually with that healing immunity. Yeah, it's not. It's a 58. Now we have a Maul Bo Canderous versus a Cody like leftover clone trooper team with Arc and Echo. I assume this is a team that people set when they want to use Shakti in like a Jedi team or some sort, and obviously the other two clones are with Gas. So if you do have a Cody lead, I suppose it is quite a good viable option for a leftover or filler team, as I like to call them. But not for Maul, he gets 57 there. Now we have Mon Mothma versus Dash. So this one's pretty straightforward. We're basically just waiting for someone to come in so we can dispel the taunt, and then we can start going after Dash. Luckily they don't have a Datacron on them. I think if they did have a Datacron, especially the Scoundrel ones or anything like that with any bonus stats, this really isn't going to be viable because Dash will probably just nuke the whole team right at the beginning, especially if they've been left offense modded from the previous Datacron set, like I think most of us changed mods on him too. I've definitely kept mine with offense mods on because I just like the amount of damage he does, and a lot of the time you can't really get to him because of like L3 taunts and things, so I feel like having a high offense Dash is probably more viable than a fast one, but that is down to just limited experience with the new Datacron sets and everything, so that might change. I might go back to speed modding again on Dash, but it's been nice actually having some spare speed sets and better mods to put on other people that need them, so that is why I've left him offense modded. As you can see, Dash is dead. We are literally just going after Queel now, because Queel and IG's like synergy is really frustrating, and I always like to kill Queel first even though he can't be crit, because it just makes killing IG a hell of a lot easier. Got the Jedi Knight buff from on Kyle, so that means the middle saber throw will do some protection recovery, which is good for banners, so that's a good thing to know against anyone if you're using Kyle and Qira and Mon Mothma. As soon as he uses middle saber when he's got the Jedi Knight ability, he will heal your team, which is really nice. So we are going to get a 57 here. Finish off pretty strong. And I think we've got a Mon Mothma fight again. We do, against Nute, Jango and B1. This is pretty standard counter. This is probably the counter I use the most against this team, just because it's quite cheap. And Nute is someone I'd probably actually highly recommend for anyone to hold for offense. If you are setting hit them on defense, it's kind of it's not really a waste, because it does. I have seen Nute get a hold for me in the past, because Jango just nukes you basically. But the Nute team with Jango and B1 is such a good counter against Qui-Gon Jinn's Omicron, which basically means you don't have to use a GL or anything like that. It just makes the team so much more worthwhile on offense. So I just feel like a team that can be beaten by Mon Mothma, which is not a very expensive, but can beat a very expensive team with Qui-Gon Jinn's Omicron, I just feel like that is kind of a no-brainer in using him on offense. But obviously if you are a smaller account and you need teams to fill on defense, this is still a very good and viable solid defense team to put down, especially if you can put down like a bounty hunter Datacron or some sort of damage boost for Jango. Some Jango rockers probably catch a lot of people out. So he killed Nute once. I thought he'd already died already, so that's why I threw the saber at the end to get our max banners, but luckily I don't think Nute takes another turn. Dies for a 57. And now we have a Nihilus lead fight versus Lord Vader. And just to put this in perspective, this whole team on the other side is Relic 9. My Nihilus is Relic 3, my Trier is Relic 4, and my Sidious is Relic 7, of course, because of the Galactic Legend requirements. So I'm not surprised that CG are keeping this under watch, because this shouldn't be happening, basically. I should not be able to beat this Lord Vader team with the characters I'm using, and just because of an Omicron, and just even because I've got lower relic levels, I can't even use a decent Datacron either, so it makes it even more amusing that I'm able to kill a full Relic 9 team with a very, very cheap counter. Well, I suppose it's not too cheap because it does have an Omicron, but yeah, so that's what I was using. Bit of extra potency because you are going to need the healing immunity to land from Sidious's basic, and obviously Treya can apply it on her special as well. It's not as obviously as common as Sidious taking turns. As you can see here, we're just ramping up. Eventually we'll do chunk through, kill LV. I wouldn't be surprised if this does get actually nerfed against Galactic Legends. It'll probably get the same treatment that Qui-Gon Jinn got, and that they'll just remove the Galactic Legend clause. So obviously if it faces a Galactic Legend, it's not in use, which I think is fair enough. I think that's a pretty good balance, and I'd be pretty happy with that, because Treya is still a very good counter with our Omicron against Malgus and things like that, and other very good like S tier, A tier teams that aren't Galactic Legends. As you'll see here, we're going to get a 66, so 56 banner win there, which is crazy good. Now we have Padme Luminara with her Omicron and Ahsoka Tano. What I find pretty amusing with this Omicron is that there's a clause in there about protection up, and if you have protection up, her Omicron doesn't work. And the whole thing about Galactic Republic is protection up. So it kind of makes me laugh that it's not as viable for her to be used in the faction that she is mainly for. I do think they obviously intended it for her to be used in a Jedi team that isn't Galactic Republic, but it just really limits her uses. And I suppose she could work in a Starkiller team. You may have seen some of my previous videos where I have used her with Starkiller in a 5v5 scenario, but I still haven't really found a good use for her yet. I'm just trying her out. Definitely an Omicron I wouldn't recommend because I can't find anything to use it with. Now we have another pretty standard counter. Qira Nest versus Maul team. This can be a bit tricky if you don't have a very good Nest and Bam is here instead of obviously that Gear 12 Canderous. You are at risk of timing out because Bo's unique just recovers protection all the time, and you really need that time to be able to ramp up the damage enough to, well, essentially one shot, I suppose, if you're got a Bam to face. As you can see, we're literally not doing a lot, just waiting for our turns. When we get our turns, just going after Canderous because he's weakest. Luckily there's no daisies here, so we can keep countering, and the dots won't do anything to us. Because all that out turn attacks, you get so much protection up as well. Pretty nuts. I think my Nest is Relic 5 here. I've actually been saying to my guild members that I would really like to see Nest get an Omicron. I think that would be quite interesting, because she used to be really viable back in the before Datacron days to solo a lot of teams in Grand Arena, and she's kind of lost a lot of her viability, I think, at least. I haven't used her as much because you got like Wampacron and all that sort of things that, you know, Savage, he can solo a lot of stuff now, and Nest kind of been left behind, I suppose. So it would be quite nice to actually see her get an Omicron of some sort. hopefully for Grand Arena. Please don't give her a Territory Wars one. But it would be nice to actually start using Nest more frequently, because I do really enjoy her kit. I think she's a very good character. Probably one of my favourite characters in the game, to be honest. Especially when she was first out and her whole kit was completely broken. She was really hard to kill. But they did eventually fix that. Yeah, one of those characters I want to eventually relegate, I reckon. But she needs to have or get some sort of treatment from somewhere. Hopefully CG give her something to boost her. A Datacron would be nice. Give her a Nest Datacron would be pretty cool, I think. Alright, now we have a C solo versus Dash, Han and Chewie. So I'm linking up Han and Dash because they are going to do the most damage to me. Obviously, to be able to do a solo, you are going to need to survive. So by getting rid of the damage from the two hardest hitting on the team, we should be able to create enough survivability for us to get a nice win here, which we do get. So yeah, otherwise I wouldn't have put it in the video. You could link up Chewie, because I would have got ultimate already by now because of the amount of assist he's doing, but just in case your C doesn't have optimal health modding, I definitely would recommend just linking up those damage dealers and delete them all in one there. Now we have C with Wat versus the JML GAS and Hermit Yoda team. C obviously hard counters Jedi. Well, should do most of the time. This should be a very straightforward fight. Not much to say, just basically waiting for ultimate, and then you're gonna pop it and kill Gas. And I think I was so focused on trying to kill JML, I forgot to relink because I wanted to just get through it, but I eventually do because Hermit was being really annoying. Kept healing the team. Oh, we do link up, never mind. I think of a different fight. JML is going to pop his ult, I think. Yeah. And I think he dies. No, one more turn. What, 855. Now we have SLKR KRU and Wat versus LV. SLKR absolutely smashes LV now, especially without his Datacron. And obviously we still have the SLKR Datacron, so he is a really good hard counter to LV at the moment. But he also beats Jabba and things like that, so doesn't get used as often. And Fennec and the old counters for LV are back. Even Imperial Troopers beat LV now in 5v5 format with the 20% turn meter Datacron on the level 3, and that's very easy. But CG won't nerf that because it's part of Datacron, so Trey will get the nerf treatment with their Armorcron, but they won't nerf a well, I suppose an A tier team, Imperial Troopers, beating LV without him even taking a turn. That's a big hit there. This team is so good against LV now, as normally your whole team could survive. Whereas beforehand, obviously with his Datacron, it would only be just SLKR standing at the end. So it's a lot better banners than it used to be. Especially against LVs that don't have any Datacron set, as this one does. Yeah. I don't know if I've showed the Datacron I have on the team, but it is the stacking offense with the advantage. And then on the level 6, I actually prefer the stun one with the speed up and offense up, I feel that's a lot better than Retribution on SLKR, because a lot of his counters that he has, or you use him against, you can't counter attack, so the Retribution's kind of wasted. I think it'd be very good on defense, but I think as a primary offense focused team, I think the speed up and offense up provides more opportunities for SLKR to do a lot of damage and things, and that could probably make the difference between life and death, I suppose, over the Retribution does. Because against Jabba, I'm pretty sure you can't attack out of turn because of Boosh to begin with. And obviously by the time that's the Deadly Bluff or whatever it's called has worn off, your Retribution's probably gone, so your level 6 is effectively useless. And even though you can't stun Galactic Legends, when you stun the sides, the speed up and offense up is just really helpful for killing off and just getting the Galactic Legend on their own. And with the stacking offensive speed that you get on level 3, which is what I have, it does make SLKR an absolute unit when he is left on his own. Or in this case, we are using him on his own against AC. There's a good thing about, well, I suppose the bad thing about C is that he can't link anyone when there's anyone left, and that does mean he can't get any ultimate charge. Well, he can, but it's very, very slow. And so anyone that does a decent amount of damage and can survive long enough can kill C by themselves, and that normally means SLKR or Wampa or someone like that can get the job done. I have Wampa at this point, unfortunately, because this was a backward team. Now we have SLKR with Crew and Wat against the Jabba with Santon. It doesn't have the Omicron, but it does have the Datacron for Jabba, as you can see with the Retribution. I can't remember what the level 6 bonus is that I have on my Jamax count. Oh, it's damage immunity, which is also quite helpful against Jabba, obviously because of the bombs. And if it ever gets down to them focusing on SLKR when you do drop again below 50% without the dispel or anything there, it does make your life a bit easier and less stressful when you know you can survive an extra hit. So neither of my SLKRs have a Retribution. But I definitely prefer the one on my solo account with the stun, with the speed up and offense up. I feel that's best. So just trying to kill things with SLKR here. Obviously when you kill anyone on SLKR's turn, they can't come back. An anti-revive. Nice swipe there to kill both Boosh and Chrysanthemum, so they're not coming back, and we've got a full ultimate charge as well. So I think we literally go into this and do a couple of pokes and Jabba dies. Not great banner wise, but one shot's a one shot. I think we get 52, I want to say. Yeah, 62, but 52 realistically. Now we have Traya versus Iden. No Datacrons in play here, and no Omicrons either, obviously except Iden's. I don't have Traya Omicron on my Jamax account because that's now my TB focused account, so I don't kind of only do like TB Omicrons and things to try out and show you guys. This one's pretty standard counter to what would have been a regular Iden team, with a regular Triumvirate team. Stacking up so much offense because they're constant out of turn hits and counters and things. That really ramps up Traya a lot. As you can see, and obviously if you can get isolate on Iden, really slows her down, and you just get it down to her pretty quickly, even in 5v5 or 3v3. We get Annihilate to finish. But unfortunately all 4 banners, because that's the one thing Triumvirate struggle with. Now we have a same team again, this time against CLS and Chewpio C3. Do you see there? Chewpio just basically killed himself with from the lead ability from Traya to the out of a turn attacks. They just lose all their health very quickly. And we're able to get isolate on CLS, which is good. And get rid of him for another 54. Oh, 53, missing health there somewhere. Now we have one Veers fight with Dark Trooper and Piet. This against Geos. Not really anything to say here, really. Basically punching the Dark Trooper and you win. That's pretty much the strategy with Veers and Dark Trooper, at least. Dark Trooper's been one of those characters I've been meaning to take relics wise, because he is only relic 5 on both my accounts at the moment, and I would really like to have him at relic 7 at least. Obviously with other requirements and other new stuff coming out, I just haven't had the resources spare to be able to put it into him. I definitely would if he got a Datacron, that's for sure. And now we have the last few fights for you. These are all Wampa fights. So the first one we have is Wampa versus Emperor Palpatine, Starkiller and Mara. They're not using a Datacron. I've unfortunately landed a Daze, which is fine. I probably should hit Palpatine there rather than going after Starkiller. That's probably a bit of a misplay on my part. Luckily he's got so many dots. Oh. Okay, well, ignore me. I thought he was just about to die, but I recalled that fight completely wrong. So even when he went into ultimate, it didn't even kill me because of the amount of protection up that I have. Getting a protection up Datacron for your Wampa is going to be so helpful for lots of counters, as you are seeing now. Even with Starkiller in ultimate, he can't do anything because of that protection up. And he dies eventually. Well, I could have done that way earlier if I'd just gone for Emperor Palpatine rather than Starkiller. That was misplays on my part. Now we have Wampa versus GG, B2 and B1. This is such an easy counter. As you saw, you could just put on full auto. Wampa will do everything for you here. And it won't be too difficult. Got one more Wampa fight coming up, and that'll be the end of this video. Do hope you have enjoyed it at least. And we finish off against a Boba, Fennec and Dengar team. So I shall just let this play out. I don't know if there's really anything I can say here, and thank you very much for watching, and I shall catch you in the next one.